What they do, this your boy, the Dope Black Lawyer, aka Josh Jones ESQ, and this is Law and Hip Hop. I want you to stay tuned to the end because we got a wild story with Tyreese, and we're going to be talking about why it's important to make those child support payments. So you can find out what happened to Tyreese at the end. But before we get there, I want to welcome everybody to Law and Hip Hop, the number one place where we talk about the law and current topics as they relate to hip hop and the culture. So, you know, you're not going to see anything like this anywhere else on YouTube. So I welcome you to here. If this is your first time, I welcome you back if you've been here before. And if it's your first time, say new. And then if it's not and you've been here before, type OG in the chat right now. Also, let us know where you're watching from. Let us know what city, what state, whatever. Rep your hood, rep your HBCU. Let us know where you are watching from at this time. As you know, right now I'm live in the 305, Miami, Florida. So let us know. Also, let us know right now if you're watching live or the replay. So we want to welcome everybody who's here live and also who's watching the replay. We wish you were here with us right now. But, you know, whatever the case, we're just happy that you're here. Leave any comments that you have in the comments, and if you have any questions, let us, you know, type those in, and as they come up, we'll be sure to address them when we can. So, as you know, usually we do the show on Thursdays at 3. Today we're doing it on a Tuesday because I wasn't able to do it last week. I was working on a legal case. We were able to get a pretty big result for one of my clients, and it caused us to work into the afternoon, and it didn't allow time for me to do the show. But I wanted to make sure that I held true and kept my word and brought these stories to you. So we'll still be back on Thursday at 3 this week, but we're going to talk about some of the stories that we had from last week that you may have already heard some about, but we're going to hopefully bring a new perspective. So let's get into it. So as you probably heard, we lost one of the forefathers of the civil rights movement, I guess we will call it the modern, the 1960s, late 50s, and the 60s. Harry Belafonte, he truly was a special person. Not only was he working with them way back then, but he still was working with the movement today, all the way until he died, mentoring up young leaders, providing funds to the causes that needed to be funded, and you know, doing everything that you could. He was a longtime friend, old friend of Martin Luther King. He helped to, you know, do the March on Washington. He organized a lot of the entertainers and celebrities. And even here locally in Miami, he helped to get other entertainers to fund a local organization that started way back in the 60s that I had the privilege of working with, called the Belafonte Tacosi Center in Liberty City. Which a lot of people have heard of. You've heard of Liberty City. A lot of the great black people from Miami throughout time are from Liberty City. And when they, you know, as I said, they named it the Belafonte Tacosi Center in his honor for the contributions that he made. And the organization has been standing for over 50 years now, going on 60, thanks to Mr. Belafonte. So I never had the privilege of getting to know him, but I do have friends who did. And his loss is a great loss for the culture. So, you know, we want to say salute to you, Mr. B, as a lot of people who knew him affectionately called him. And we wish you a great rest, because you did your work here on Earth. So we're going to move to the next story. A lot of people may not have heard about it because kind of the whole point of the story, but the Boston Marathon takes place every year. It's one of the biggest marathons that takes place in the United States, so it's very well known. People come from all over the world to run it, and there was a black running club that participated in the Boston Marathon this year, and they say that they experienced running while black. So as you know, when you're at a marathon, as you're running, there's people on the sides and they're cheering you on, telling you, you know, to try to encourage you. I mean, it's a 26.2 mile race, so it gets pretty tough. So apparently around mile 21 is when it's notorious for being a time where people really, really need that encouragement. So there was a black run club called Pioneers Run Crew, and they were positioned at mile 21. However, they weren't able to give the high fives and to reach out to the runners who they were there to support because the police formed a barricade preventing them from moving to the front to do so. So one of the organizers of the Run Club, his name was Mike Remy, and he told BuzzFeed that it felt like a traffic stop. There was one cop on a bike kind of cruising back and forth after doing about 4 passes. He came back with some friends. So a lot of this footage went viral online. And, you know, Remy talked about how there are not really a lot of black people, black and brown people who participate in marathons in the first place. So, you know, they were trying to do their part. You know, they weren't handing out anything, no water, no beer, no alcohol, because, you know, sometimes people are even passing out brew. I know one time I did a 10K in Colorado, and I had an experience where I got a chance to drink some brew as I was, you know, exhausted. I just was like, man, I need to have this brew. I didn't train. I wasn't ready. But it's, you know, a good experience, so I can somewhat relate to what was going on. It's cool to be able to reach out to the people and get that encouragement. But, you know, they were not afforded that opportunity. So I'm going to show you a video. You can see another one of the organizers, Allison Desir, talking about kind of what happened from his perspective as well. So let's go ahead. We're going to see. Hopefully this works. Oh man, the sound's not working. It's all right. So that's all right. But basically, I'll read what he wrote. Cheering while black. I didn't make it to mile 21 this year because of the rain and having my son, but that is what my friends experienced, being boxed in on both sides by Boston PD for cheering too loud, for having too much energy, or said more simply, for being black in a white space. This is why the Boston Marathon course is problematic. Why are we so vocal? Our mere existence is seen as dangerous and met with threats. All of this while a young black kid was recently shot in the head for ringing the wrong doorbell in Kansas City. Can we live? So that video was presented by Allison Desir, and Boston is kind of notorious for being one of the most racist cities in the United States, especially in the Northeast, where people kind of have the impression that, you know, it's less racist, where it's less segregated, it's less discrimination. But, you know, Boston kind of seemingly takes pride in being known as a place where that is not the case. You know, those stereotypes of the North are not true. So, you know, I've had friends who told me that even teaching in a class, a little elementary school kid would call them the N-word. So, I mean, I'm not surprised to hear this about Boston. Hopefully, you know, as they become exposed, things will get better. But even more so, hopefully we can create our own marathons and our own races that have that prestige of a Boston Marathon for us. So it's only a big deal because people think it's a big deal. You know what I mean? So there are other running organizations that are doing races all across the country for you know, where they actually are doing it to contribute to black causes as well. So it's a kind of like a double win for the community and for the culture. So hopefully we can support those people who are supporting us more, so that we don't even have to put ourselves in a position to be subjected to what happened to this group of black people in Boston. It definitely sounds like some racism. It definitely sounds like the police were abusing their power. There were even threats of arrests for, you know, unfortunately I couldn't show you the video, but if you see the video, nobody was doing anything. There was no cussing. There was no back and forth with the police. I mean, it was just people there to truly cheer on these runners. So that's my 2 cents on that. And then we got another story that we've been talking about and following for a while. you know, our good buddy Prise from the Fugees. We talked about his trial when it first started. We talked about Leonardo DiCaprio being one of the witnesses for the government, and that perking up the jury a little bit to hear what Leonardo was going to have to say. And we kind of had updates along the way. Well, I am here to tell you that Prise was found guilty on 10 counts. So they include money laundering, illegal lobbying, witness tampering, and campaign finance violations. And he faces up to 20 years. So as we discussed, there was a gentleman named Low Take Joe from Malaysia who he befriended at some point. Seems like a lot of people got to know Joe through the years. Leonardo DiCaprio admitted to knowing him, and he was just kind of on the scene. People said he seemed like a legitimate business person, but along the way, Prise got into a situation where he was accused and now convicted of, doing things on behalf of Lo Joe to assist Asian countries and different people in different efforts to support candidates. It said that he gave $860-something thousand to Obama's campaign in 2012 and other things, trying to help to have someone's sentence revoked, during the Trump administration. So, to drop the charges against one of Mr. Lowe and some of his associates. And, the whole time it's been going on, Mr. Lowe has been, gone. He left the country. They haven't been able to reach him, so he left Prise high and dry to take the rap, which is not uncommon. You see these types of situations where everybody's cool, everybody want to hang, but when it's time for them charges, people get kind of quiet. People get out the way. So Prise is facing up to 20 years. I think his lawyers intend to appeal. We'll see what happens. At some point, Prise was even, somewhat of an informant for the government, and it seems like that wasn't enough to keep him from being tried and convicted. But Prise is still a celebrity, so maybe there's some grace that'll be shown to him when it's time for sentencing, a little bit of mercy. Who knows? Next, let's talk about this gentleman. So this gentleman here was identified back in 2020 as the one who actually shot our sister Breana Taylor when the sheriff department raided her apartment looking for her boyfriend. But he is the actual shooter. His name is what is this fool's name? I lost it. So his last name is Cosgrove. His first name doesn't matter so much. Miles Cosgrove. So he was removed from the Louisville police, and then it was found that he would be able to keep his license to be an officer. So a neighboring sheriff department Carroll County decided they would bring him on as a sheriff. He was 2 years from retirement, so it sounds like they're trying to, do him, a solid so that he can get his full retirement benefits. His attorney claims he was railroaded and he was scapegoated, and everybody kind of put this on him when supposedly everything was done by the book, but conveniently he didn't have on his body cam like he's supposed to, so we'll never really be able to see what happened. And technically, if he didn't have on his body cam, it wasn't done by the book. So he's back on the force. Breana Taylor's mother, she has come out and she said that he is a threat to society, and that she is fearful for the people who are going to be under his watch. So here's a quote from the mayor of Carrollton. As many of you know, there have been some unrest in recent days related to a recent hiring at the Carroll County Sheriff's Office. We do understand that there are groups who plan to come and exercise their right to assemble and peacefully protest this decision. The city of Carrollton has been closely monitoring the situation and have plans in place to ensure everyone's safety, although we do not expect any issues. So Miles Cosgrove is already back at work, and hopefully, he has some remorse and he won't be out here doing that anymore. But it definitely is unfortunate to see that this dude was able to keep his license and is going to be out here with the duty to protect and serve the community. Obviously, we know with the police, why they were first formed and who they were formed to protect. It is not us, but we will remain vigilant. Everyone who has their cameras and has their learning the law will be able to do what they need to do to protect themselves and their families themselves. So this is a cool story. The NBA, in its most recent collective bargaining agreement, has decided that they're no longer going to punish players for smoking weed. So back during the 2020, during the COVID lockdown, they already had suspended they had already stopped suspensions for people who tested positive, but now they're not even testing anymore. So, players deal with a lot of injuries, and a lot of research has shown that the marijuana is good for that, for the anxiety, for other things that come along with it. Players from all ends of the spectrum, from Allen Iverson to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, have come out in support of this. So there won't be any random tests. That's already been on the books, but now there will be no penalties for players who smoke marijuana in the new labor agreement that they agreed to, the Players Association and the league agreed to. So from what I've always been able to see, people who are marijuana smokers are not aggressive. They're not violent. People because of the marijuana. So, I mean, if it has the healing effects, if it has the ability to help players to cope with the injuries, that's, I'm all for it. Playing 82-game seasons and, playing any professional sport is grueling in itself. So, whatever little bit of relief and reprieve they can get, that's what's up. Tyreese. So we talked about Tyreese. Tyreese was recently ordered to pay $636,000 in child support and attorney's fees to his ex-wife. Previously, Tyreese was ordered to pay $10,000 a month to his ex-wife in child support. Tyreese decided that he was going to only pay $2,200 a month in child support. So Tyreese went to court, and the judge said that he owed $237,944 in back child support. But he also would be responsible for paying $399,000 in attorney's fees to his ex-wife's attorney for making them continue with, going forward to collect the back child support. So that's what they claim they were owed. So on the backside of all of this, Tyreese went live on IG, and he was calling for, our brother Ben Crump, who we talk about a lot on here, Martin Luther King III, and any brothers who stand in solidarity with him, for being railroaded by this racist judge. So the judge said they could have put him in jail, but they didn't. He claims that his attorney heard the judge call his ex-wife a bitch. But, Tyreese, sounds like he went about it the wrong way. If he wanted to, and on top of that, you have to pay interest. So, they order you to pay a certain amount, and if you don't pay it, then you owe the back child support plus interest. So, I mean, if you want to try to challenge it, I would think that you would want to pay it first so you don't get the interest tagged on. And then if the judge decides that they agree with your position, the judge will do a new order and they'll reduce the amount of the child support. But Um, I mean, they were kind of going in on Tyreese. So let me show you what they were talking about online. So, and it is kind of dumb for Tyreese, especially if he had the money to not pay the money. So Tyreese having to pay $636,000 in back child support has me in tears. He really tried to start a race war to distract us. The fact that Tyreese is asking for MLK's son to come to court so he ain't got to pay child support is proof that you niggas will do whatever it takes to not have to pay that shit. It's laughing emojis. Tyreese got cooked in court. That's effed up. That child support ain't right. So, people are talking about it. Tyreese out here wearing African garments, right, asking attorney Ben Crump, MLK III, to join him in the courtroom for some damn foolishness. Tyreese refused to pay $10K in child support. TF, it's not like she is asking for billions of dollars. Yo, embarrassing. What the F Tyreese doing with himself that he's trying to avoid $10K a month in child support? I mean, yeah, $10K a lot to me, but you got talents, connections, and abilities to make more than 5X that. And that's kind of a good point and something that I agree with. So, I could see if he was salty because it was alimony, right? And even then, if the judge orders it, the judge orders it. But, I mean, we're talking about child support. So this is money that's going to go towards the support of his child. So, I mean, I know regular guys making regular money paying, $2,000, $3,000 a month. So there's no way that Tyreese could have thought that was enough. And then, $10,000 in comparison to what a lot of celebrities are paying still sounds like a deal. But, it's just not a good look for Tyreese to be out here like that. Unfortunately, it seems like he didn't have a dope black lawyer on his side to be able to kind of guide him through this process, because there's no way that should have been the way that he handled that situation. Even if, the numbers were wrong. He claims that his ex-wife makes $100,000 a year, so he shouldn't have to pay that much. But it's like, come on, bro, you're in Fast and the Furious. You know what I'm saying? You in Transformers, all these movies. Like, you make way more than $100,000, so it has to balance out. And let's see. So the next story, let's talk about in South Florida. I know y'all love to talk about Florida. What the Florida is going on? Instacart delivery driver was trying to deliver groceries, ended up at the wrong house, and ended up being shot at while they were trying to leave. So, under some circumstances, this could be seen as maybe like a funny story. But in light of the stories we talked about last time and other stories of people being shot at for knocking on people's doors and accidentally being on people's property and things like that, obviously this is no laughing matter. Nobody was injured in this incident. The police didn't arrest anyone. They felt like everybody was justified in their actions. But the guy was looking for a house in the neighborhood and ended up at the wrong house. And ended up getting shot at. So Instacart said they're going to cooperate in the investigation, and the Broward County State Attorney called the incident very disturbing and then said he requested a full investigation into what happened after hearing about the incident. So, maybe there's more that'll come, but the Davie police said that both parties' actions were justified based on the circumstances they perceived. There are no surveillance cameras, which is unusual. But Davie is kind of a little good old boy little town, so I'm not surprised to hear that's what the Davie police found. The state attorney luckily has the ability to do their own investigation, and if they see something different, can potentially bring charges if necessary. Anytime guns become involved, you've escalated a situation where it may not have been needed. The guy said that his foot was got ran over, or that the people were trying to hit him with their car from Instacart. So we'll see what happens. But that is not the way to handle a situation. it's going to get even crazier out here. I talk about it every week, but a lot of states, including Florida, allow for people to carry guns without permits, or even to walk around with the guns on the hip, like this, we're in the Wild Wild West. So if you don't have guns, you should assume everybody does have a gun, and if you don't have one, you should maybe consider getting one, because it's going to be crazy out here. Hopefully you don't have to use guns, but it seems like other people are willing to take things to a place where it may become necessary for everyone to be armed. Well, that is all that we have this week. Leave in the comments anything that you thought was interesting, or any of the stories that really resonated with you. Let me know if there are any stories that you want me to talk about on Thursday. If I hear anything, we can add it to the show. If you have any questions about anything else, let us know about that as well, and we can make sure that we get the answers for your questions. If you're looking for dope black lawyers, we have one of the biggest networks in the world. I was going to say in the U.S., but honestly in the world, of black lawyers all across the world, and we can find dope black lawyers for whatever your issues are. So thank you for tuning in this week. Again, I'm Josh Jones, ESQ, the dope black lawyer, and I look forward to seeing you on Thursday.